For decades, Windows has been the default choice for personal computing. It was everywhere: offices, schools, gaming rigs, family PCs. It wasn't necessarily loved, but it was familiar, and familiarity was enough. Linux, on the other hand, lived on the fringes. It was seen as the operating system for programmers, hackers, and people who enjoyed typing cryptic commands into a black terminal window. But something has quietly changed, and this one change is so fundamental, so transformative, that it makes Windows suddenly feel outdated, clunky, and stuck in the past. Most people haven't noticed it yet, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. You can't unsee it. And when you do, Windows starts to look less like the future of computing, and more like a relic trying to survive on momentum alone. The change isn't just about looks, or speed, or even security. It's about control. Real control. For the first time in mainstream desktop computing, Linux has crossed a threshold where ordinary users can shape their entire operating system around their needs without fighting it, paying for it, or being monitored by it. This isn't theoretical freedom or philosophical open source talk. This is practical, everyday usability that Windows simply cannot match anymore. To understand why this matters, we need to talk about how Windows works today. Modern Windows is no longer just an operating system. It's a platform designed around Microsoft's ecosystem and business goals. Updates are pushed when Microsoft decides, not when you decide. Features appear and disappear without warning. Settings move around with every major update. Ads show up in places that used to be sacred, like the Start menu and lock screen. Telemetry runs constantly in the background, collecting data whether you like it or not. Even when you disable things, many of them quietly turn themselves back on after the next update. Windows feels less like a tool you own, and more like a service you're temporarily borrowing. Linux took a completely different path, and recently, that path became accessible to everyone. The change that flips the script is the rise of fully modular, user-controlled desktop environments paired with atomic, rollback, capable systems. In simple terms, Linux has figured out how to let users change everything without breaking anything. That one idea alone undermines almost every advantage Windows used to have. On Linux today, your desktop is no longer tied to the core of the system. You can swap the entire interface, the workflow, the animations, the window behavior, and even the philosophy of how you interact with your computer, all without reinstalling the operating system. You want something that feels like Mac OS? Done. Something that feels like classic Windows XP? Easy. Something futuristic, minimal, keyboard-driven, or touch-focused? It's already there. And this isn't done through hacks or third-party tools fighting the system. It's built into how Linux works. Compare that to Windows, where changing even small things often requires registry edits, third-party software that breaks after updates, or workarounds that Microsoft actively discourages. Windows gives you the illusion of customization. Linux gives you the real thing. But the bigger shift is what happens when something goes wrong. On Windows, updates are a gamble. Everyone has experienced it. An update installs overnight. You boot up your PC, and suddenly something is broken. Maybe your audio driver is gone. Maybe your printer stopped working. Maybe your system is slower, for no obvious reason. Rolling back is possible in theory, but often messy, incomplete, or temporary. Sometimes the only real solution is a full reinstall. Linux's modern systems changed this completely. Many popular Linux distributions now use atomic updates and snapshots. That means every update is applied as a complete, self-contained unit. If something breaks, you don't troubleshoot for hours or search forums for registry fixes. You reboot and choose the previous working version of your system. Everything is exactly how it was before. Files, settings, performance, all intact. This is not a backup. This is time travel for your operating system. Windows simply cannot do this. Its architecture was never designed for it. Every Windows update modifies the live system directly, stacking changes on top of changes, slowly accumulating technical debt. Linux wiped the slate clean and rebuilt the idea of updates from the ground up. Then there's software installation, which is where Windows really starts to show its age. On Windows, installing software usually means downloading random installers from the web, clicking through pop-ups, declining bundled junk, and hoping you didn't accidentally install malware. Updates for each app are handled separately, often through their own launchers or background services. Uninstalling software frequently leaves behind files, registry entries, and startup processes you never asked for. Linux flipped this model completely. Most Linux software comes from trusted, centralized repositories. You search, click install, and the system handles everything. Updates are unified. One update command or button updates your entire system, and all your applications together. No pop-ups, no ads, no license nags, no surprise background processes. When you uninstall something, it's actually gone. And here's the part that really makes Windows feel obsolete. Linux lets you decide how much of your system changes and when. You can run a rock-solid, unchanging system for years, only updating security patches, or you can live on the cutting edge with daily updates. You can freeze your system exactly how it is and focus on work, or constantly tweak and experiment. Windows gives you one path, and you walk it whether you want to or not. Performance is another area where this change becomes impossible to ignore. Modern Linux desktops are lighter, faster, and more efficient than Windows on the same hardware. Old laptops that struggle to run Windows 10 or 11 suddenly feel new again under Linux. The system boots faster, uses less RAM, and doesn't spin up background processes just to serve ads or collect telemetry. Your computer feels like it's working for you, not against you. Gaming, once Windows' strongest defense, is no longer the shield it used to be. Thanks to compatibility layers like Proton, thousands of Windows games now run on Linux with performance equal to or better than Windows. Many gamers don't even realize they're playing Windows games on Linux because it just works. Meanwhile, Linux doesn't force you to update your system right before a gaming session or reboot unexpectedly in the middle of something important. Security is where Linux quietly pulls even further ahead. Linux's permission model and software distribution system make malware infections dramatically less common. You're not constantly running random executables from the internet with full system access. Most software runs with limited permissions, and the system itself is designed to assume that mistakes will happen and contain them when they do. Windows still relies heavily on antivirus software to clean up after the fact. Linux is designed to prevent the mess in the first place. But the most important part of this change isn't technical. It's psychological. Using modern Linux feels different. You stop bracing for updates. You stop worrying about your system changing without your consent. You stop feeling like your computer is spying on you or trying to sell you something. You start trusting your operating system again. Windows used to represent personal computing. It was your PC, on your desk, doing what you told it to do. Over time, that relationship changed. Linux has quietly reclaimed that original promise. And now it's doing it in a way that's accessible, polished, and ready for everyday users. This is why this Linux change makes Windows look obsolete. Not because Windows suddenly stopped working, but because Linux moved forward in a direction Windows can't easily follow. Windows is tied to legacy decisions, corporate priorities, and an architecture that resists real user control. Linux is free to evolve around what users actually want. Once you experience an operating system that respects your choices, protects your time, and adapts to you instead of the other way around, it's hard to go back. Windows doesn't feel broken, it just feels old. And that's the most dangerous position for any technology to be in. The shift has already started. Most people just don't realize it yet.